Before we even get going, I just want to tell you that this has been a remarkable journey for me and for Brian over the last 2.5 years. We've been in a lot of schools, youth development organizations, at different levels from essentially community colleges to Cal State system, UC Berkeley, high schools, middle schools. We've been out there, and I can tell you that kids really love this stuff, and this stuff being social psychology and what we're learning from social psychology. I'll speak a bit more about that as we get into the activities. But if you're part of a team and you're going into a school or a youth organization, you're going to have a great time. And it really fills an important void in kids' lives. I think, as you may know, given all the cutbacks in education, young people are not getting as much of those social emotional skills, those the character education. They're not getting what some people call non-cognitive skills, those skills that really undergird all of learning. So we're doing something really important. And over the next few years, we would like to tie these interventions with more sort of traditional metrics in schools, dropout rates, college retention rates, etc. A lot of educators are now concerned that they go through some really terrific programs. A lot of charter schools are doing some incredible things with young people, but the college retention rate and graduation rate is not what they would like, not what all of us would like. So there's something missing. And we believe we're onto something that's really important that is being missed. And we're doing it in a way that's fun and really galvanizes and brings together a whole bunch of skills in a way that engages students like nothing else I've done in my career of almost 40 years in education. And I think it meets a couple of really key needs for adolescents. One is they're all trying to figure out, who am I, right? That identity formation, identity and adolescence, they go hand in hand. So they're trying out different identities. And in our lessons, our interventions, kids are going through these activities, and I think they're constantly thinking, well, who am I, and where and how do I fit in, and where and how do I stand out? We teach young people to stand up, speak out, and act courageously and wisely and effectively in challenging situations. So just wanted to say that you're going to have a good time doing this. Let me start with a brief story. Here's the scene. Dr. Philip Zimbardo, who is the founder of the Heroic Imagination Project, is meeting with a group of community college students in April of 2012 at the Western Psychological Association meeting. And the students there are about 10 students, and one student asks him essentially, with what you know now, given your 40, almost 50 years in this field, what might you do different? And he said essentially that, or what did you miss in your career? What were some of the blind spots? And he said, first, we spent too much time and paid too close attention to the dark side, whether it was the Stanford Prison Experiment, the Milgram experiments. The focus was on how people were at the mercy of situations and how easy it is or was to manipulate them. And what they didn't pay enough attention to were those individuals or people who stood up and spoke out and went against the grain. That's number one. And the second thing he said was that we didn't use social psychology. We didn't apply it. We didn't use it to help transform people's lives, to help people do a better job at whatever it is they're doing. I mentioned that brief encounter, that story, because I do think it sets the stage and the tone for what we're doing here. And Dr. Zimbardo, toward the end of his career, was writing a book called The Lucifer Effect, which I think some of you have read. And he was looking back at the Stanford prison experiment, and also as an expert witness at for the trial of some folks at Abu Ghraib. And he was called to be an expert witness. So he was writing about Abu Ghraib, the Stanford prison experiment. And at one point he said to himself, this is grim, grim, grim. And he started to think about those people who did stand up and speak out, and decided that at that stage in his career, early in his retirement from Stanford, that he would focus on heroism. Our focus is on everyday heroism, not necessarily the superhero kind of heroism, but rather the small things that people can do that can make a big difference. And in a way, that's what we're doing here with these interventions. Small interventions, we posit, we hypothesize, can make a big difference. And small actions on the part of kids can make a big difference. And that was one of the other things in talking to the students at the Western Psychological Association meeting that he mentioned, that little things can indeed make a huge difference.